the truth is, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago when we were at the Branson Center, life is very different right now.
So
how many years ago?
Different.
This was a long time ago.
4 years?
Yeah, it must have been 4 years ago. It's very
4
different.
years?
Yeah.
You were selling socks.
I wasn't selling socks.
You were
I
selling
had socks at some point, but I wasn't selling
You were selling socks.
I wasn't selling socks. I had socks at some point.
But you just weren't selling them.
No, I mean...
What were you selling?
I don't even remember.
You were selling socks.
Well, I was selling fish tanks. I never sold socks.
You sold socks. I remember that website you had and like everything.
Yeah, I had another website.
Oh, is this like the part of your entrepreneurship journey that you don't mention?
You know, it's that the Achilles heel. That one that no one has to know.
No one has to know about.
I have one of those. I had a kota shop.
That's understandable, no?
Did you really?
Yeah, it was a kota shop. Didn't last long. 3 months.
No way.
Failed miserably.
Where?
Kota? Who fails in selling kotas? Isn't that like a thing?
Like which area were you in?
Appreciate
No, I'm just asking.
You failed at selling socks.
No.
I failed at selling kotas. We're gonna
Socks
be
are
okay
tough
with
to
that.
sell. Socks are tough to sell.
Kotas are tougher.
Really?
Yes,
I
it's
thought
a
kotas were-
saturated market.
In which area though? Which
I think
So
the problem is the
Protea.
area.
Okay, that makes sense though. That does make
People in
sense.
Protea don't eat kotas?
They do, just not from him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay.
I don't appreciate this. I don't like any of this. Okay, so literally just a one questioner, right? I've done podcasts with both of you.
Yeah.
Okay, so simple question.
I can't speak about the fact that I used to sell porn, right?
Huh?
Yeah.
Sell porn.
Yo.
How?
Wait, PAWN or PORN?
PORN. But it was like in high school, and you know they called them blue movies. It was like
Yeah.
So we found like a stack. I went to a boarding school. We found a stack. We're like, oh, we can sell these.
A stack of porn?
Yeah, like DVDs. Like no, they were VHSs. Yeah, blue movies.
Yeah, and you just like sold them.
Yeah,
In what grade was this?
I was in matric.
Okay.
Listen, I was in the quarter business. That's fine. I failed that I'm fine with that. Are you okay that you failed at selling socks?
No, I never sold socks. So this conversation doesn't exist because I never sold socks. Was it successful?
I made money. I never watched the movies, but I made money.
You would
Yeah.
never know.
You didn't even know your products.
I mean,
No.
what kind of person has...
Okay. So literally, what's it like to be a social entrepreneur?
I mean, if I look at most entrepreneurship in the African continent, I'd be surprised if majority of it is not social entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I think because we've got so many challenges in the continent. So looking at not just solving your sort of immediate challenge with things, but how that impacts the community that you serve. So I think social entrepreneurship really is all about if the product solving a problem, because ultimately a business is about solving a problem, but a problem that would have a huge impact on the community
Yeah.
that you solve it. I mean, I think for me it's definitely that, looking at product, but not just product or service, but something that has a lasting impact on the community where you work.
I think for me, everything he said, but also I would like to say it's a lot more specific, right? So if you look at a lot of businesses, they can be generic. People will start this and this and this. But social entrepreneurship, in a sense, is when people start it, it's because they're trying to address one particular problem, right? So it could be clean water, it could be affordable electricity, it could be something coding in itself. You're looking to address one specific problem, and one you feel will benefit your community at its highest. So that for me is what social entrepreneurship is all about. It's about the people. It's about profit, but profit that is reinvested in building a better society.
Do you think we need to be segmenting everyone, just putting them in boxes, creative, social, tech, all this stuff? I feel like it's just labels. Mm-hmm. But if we really put it together, everything is literally about just solving problems, adding value, and trying to do things that matter. Why all the labels?
I think it's because a lot of people, people whose mentality is to do it alone, feel like in order to stand out, they need to have a specific label. They need to have something that's going to detach them from every other organization out there. And you're actually quite correct. I feel like if we were to pool our resources and come together and say that, this is what I'm great at, this is what I'm good at, how do we make this profitable and how do we make it a lasting impact, we would achieve so much more. But society has trained us to be like, to be a creative, you need to dress like you're wearing curtains, or hang out.
What?
Yeah, or hang out at like Father Coffee or something. Shout out to Father Coffee. I love Father Coffee. But I feel like all the dudes with the MacBooks and, the crazy hairstyles hang out there and they talk about creativity and innovation and all these buzzwords. But if you take a deeper looking at the meaning and the underlying factor of it, a lot of people don't know what they're doing. We're out here freestyling, man, all the time. People have no clue what they're doing and they use these words to kind of define it. But if you dig a little deeper, we're all just trying to do the same thing, which is to change lives and make money while we're doing it.
I think it's quite interesting. I was listening to this podcast with Malcolm Gladwell and I forgot his name now. And I think Malcolm Gladwell did an episode on why country music is so why a rock band can make different genres, but other genres can last so long in the music space. And one of the things he mentioned was specificity, a word that I can't pronounce, specificity. So he mentioned that the more specific the thing that you're doing, the better you become at it. So he mentioned people that are in like artists, so people that spend the most amount of time doing something and specializing in it, the higher they become in their space. So if you look at entrepreneurship as a whole, so you look at tech entrepreneurship as a subsegment of entrepreneurship as a whole, people that have a lot more of a focused or specific product will be the ones that go a lot higher than people that have a little bit of a generic product. So if you look at some of the smaller or some of the tech businesses within the fintech space, you'd find that they have a bigger chance of getting higher than some within more teaching coding and that's more because of the fact that you can't be very specific in that genre. So I think I like the idea of sort of getting your skills to be as high as possible in what you're doing, and you becoming very, very specific and becoming a person that knows something better than anybody else in the room. And I
sort
find
of like an industry expert.
You become an industry expert, and then you sub-segment yourself within a sector. So, for example, in the water space, there will be the general water space. Within water, there will be treatment, measuring, policy, and all of these things. But you become a lot more of a specific person within the sector that you're in. And apparently, the data shows that you become more successful the more specific you become. So I think what needs to happen is what you mentioned, which is very, very important, of when you're doing something massive, when you're building a massive company, pulling all those people together. I find that a company like Google, they would bring former athletes to work in the company. They would bring former astronauts to work in the company, and they know that those people are very, very, very good at being specific, and they bring this pool of specific skills, and that's what makes a gigantic company such as Google. So I think it can be both. It can be like very, very specific, and in that specificity, you make a gigantic company. So bringing creatives together with the techies, together with the analysts and the business people and everyone, making a giant company. And I think that's something that within, especially more within Black communities, that we need to do more of as well.
Cool. So I'm drinking this water, right? It's got the name of your company on it, and like, I look at this and it's like incredible for me. But what does it mean to you?
What does it mean? It means it's time to take care of the environment a little bit more and use less plastic.
Just that.
Yeah, I mean, no. Look, it's a representation of something that we've been working on for the last 4 years. It's a physical representation of this product that we're trying to build. So we put our all into ensuring that each bottle that goes out, I mean, it's not perfect science, but each bottle that goes out, or each drop of water that goes out has a purpose to it. So when you see a physical manifestation of that, it further enhances our purpose of existence. So as our slogan is, purpose in every drop. Yeah.
That's powerful. Okay, maybe we should start with just an intro.
Sure, yeah.
Before we get into the nitty-gritties of
Yeah.
it all. So what's your background? Like,
Sure. So my background is in science. So I actually studied chemistry. So I did. I went to a technical high school actually. So I went to Thando Technical High School. So we used to make bookshelves and they used to make us build walls and stuff like that. I wonder if it was for our learning or if it was to improve the school. I'm trying to.
it can be both. It definitely be both. Free labor with life skills.
So in my high school, so when you get to like grade 10, you have to choose your.
Sort of.
You have to choose your technical field. So I chose technical civil. So my background has always been in the sort of technical stuff. So I went on to do chemistry because I was interested in science as a whole. So I wanted to be a scientist. So I've always wanted to be a scientist. So I did chemistry at Cape Technicon, and then I went to work for the city of Cape Town in the water and sanitation department as a scientist. So yeah, that's my background. I also worked for city of Johannesburg as well, Joburg Water. Again, I was working as a scientist. We're looking at about 4 or 5 million citizens that are drinking Johannesburg water or publicly available water. So our job is to ensure that the water that is going out is safe to drink.
Oh, okay. So there was like a clear path towards doing the work that you're doing now.
No, so not particularly, but I mean it just looks like there was a clear path.
Yeah, it sounds like there was a clear path.
Sounds like there's
technical high school and then going into
I wanted to do IT. That's like I want. So when I went to the university, I wanted to do IT, but I actually thought it doesn't. I don't know. It didn't really fit into what like the whole grand idea. So if you think about my vision, so how I saw myself as this guy wearing a white coat and wearing glasses and experimenting with these things in the laboratory. So that's probably the only. And when I looked at the sheet, that sheet for the university, I don't know what they call it.
Correct.
Like that, whatever that thing is called.
Yes.
There was nothing that resembled that. So the only thing that was closest to that was chemistry. So I decided to then study chemistry as a result. And then I worked, when I did my third year, you have to do this internship. I couldn't get my internship at the time, so my friend was working for a company that was doing industrial wastewater treatment at Caltex in the manufacturing sites in Caltex. So they used to ensure that the water quality for Caltex has to be at a certain quality because Caltex used to sell. I wonder if they still do, but I'm sure they do. They sell jet fuel. In order to make jet fuel, the water quality needs to be at a certain quality. So my friend used to work for a company that did that inside of Caltex. So because I couldn't get an internship, my friend then said to me, they're running this pilot plant for a failing nylon factory. So one of the reasons why the nylon factory was failing, one being the fact that a lot of the nylon that we were getting in the country and cotton was Chinese import. Second problem that they had was that they were spending a lot of money on wastewater discharge. So normally what happens is big municipalities, so if you're an industrial company, so you're a manufacturer, they measure the amount of waste that you're taking out into the environment, and if it's over a certain limit, they fine you. So this company was paying in the region of millions per month on their waste disposal. So my friend, they were running a pilot plant to prove that they can treat that water for the factory, and that saved them that million, all those millions by the quality of the water being improved. So then they asked me to sort of just look after the plant in a sense as a process operator. So that's really how I got into the water space, because then I did 6 months in that space before I went to work for the city of Cape Town, where again it was absolute chance and absolute luck that I got the job. I did. I think it was more chance than it being a clear path more than anything.
So fast forward from all of that, what is Kusini?
Yeah, so a little bit of a rewind as well. So when I was working in Joburg, so one of the biggest challenges that Joburg faces, and Limpopo and Cape Town again, is inequalities. So if you look at suburban areas such as, for example, Fourways or Dainfen and Diepsloot, there's clear inequalities. Same thing in Cape Town also.
Yeah.
But inequalities also exist in things such as energy and things such as water. One of the things I started to notice heavy was the fact that if you are in Dainfen or in Fourways, your access to safe drinking water, your story to getting your water in your tap is very, very different to someone's story to getting water in Diepsloot. More often than not, that person would have to walk to go get water either in a communal tap or in a tanker. So one of the research that we were doing when I was working at the city was the impact of tankers, which is really water that comes on a truck. It fills up a tank that is left in the community, so the long-term effects of that. So what started paining me more than anything was the fact that we're using all of these skills to ensure that this one area of the Joburg, of the town continuously gets water, but we're not doing anything about this other area. So that's when I decided to start a company within the space, which is Kusini Water, which is what we're looking at in order to address the sort of disparities that exist within the sort of access to safe drinking water.
How much more extreme is that problem in rural areas?
Oh, yeah, it's incredibly vast. I mean, if you look at not just the country South Africa, about 12 million people don't have access to safe drinking water, piped safe drinking water in South Africa, okay. Which is a huge amount of people. Massive. It's massive amount of people, and it's quite prevalent because we have both the economic access to safe drinking water in rural areas, where it's because municipalities physically can't get the water to people because of the economic barriers. And we also have the physical barriers, where in some areas there's physically no water to give to the people. We saw that manifested more at scale within the Cape Town municipality last year with Day Zero, but that continues to be a day-to-day reality for most communities. Right now, it's happening in Grahamstown as we speak. It's happening in PE as we speak. It's happening in most rural areas in Limpopo, from Makuya area, Chikonero area. Those areas are heavily hit by both economic and physical barriers to safe drinking water. So 11 million people don't have access to safe drinking water. Even those that do have access to safe drinking water, in the 40-odd million people that are left, it's not often the case that that water is purified or it's at a standard that is stipulated in the standard.
So, I mean, that period where Cape Town was literally like on its knees, I'm not sure whether, there's always these conspiracy theories, this whole crisis was manufactured, whatever.
Yeah.
But I remember you being very active and saying, hey, guys, we've got a solution for you.
Yeah.
We can help you. We think these are the solutions. Like, what was that period like for you? I mean, you have a company that literally deals with this one crisis that they were, so heavily, suffering from.
That's, right as the crisis was at its apex in Jan last year. That's really when actually in Cape Town at that particular time when people were thinking, everyone is panicking that we're going to run out of water. I actually had a meeting with someone from the Redbull Amaphiko team, and we're talking about what companies need to do, number one, what companies need to do to respond to the shortage. And one of the things I mentioned was that, look, as much as this is a huge international story, the truth is there's everyday lived experience of Day Zero in this particular town, in Cape Town, where every single day this is the reality for the last 20, 30 or so years. So the first thing that really we spoke about during that time was that if we're going to solve this problem, it needs to be solved at a systemic level. It needs to be solved at informal settlements, which really should become townships. It needs to be solved at township level. It also needs to be solved by big corporates that exist within the city of Cape Town. So that's when we started to then partner with Cape Town companies. For example, Redbull, that's actually, the crisis is actually rolled down to us actually having a project with Redbull and VNA and some of Cape Town's companies that are looking to solve the problem on a systemic level, so going forward. So we're doing some amazing projects now in the Western Cape as a result. And this is both to do with City of Cape Town, offering the solutions to City of Cape Town, which we're doing, and also offering a service to private companies such as Red Bull, where we're going to be supplying their building with water, and all the water that Red Bull consumes, for every liter that they consume, they give 20 liters to a community affected as well. So that helped us as well in getting to the point where we're at right now.
Speaking about Redbull, I mean, you've been part of the Amaphiko program, you know, gone through sort of the resources that they have and gone through the mentorship programs as well and all of that. What did that actually do for you as a company, and you know, what's the impact of it?
Sure. I always talk about my company in three stages.
Okay.
So the trough of sorrow hit very early.
Trough of sorrow.
So the trough of sorrow hit very early in the company.
Okay.
I'm sure you'll explain trough of sorrow.
I mean, listen. Okay, what's the first stage of a start? I forgot.
For me, the trough of sorrow.
Excitement.
Yes.
And then what was it? It's early excitement.
Early excitement, early adoption, then the trough of sorrow, which is the Great Depression.
The Great Depression. For
And then
startups.
adaptation.
And then suddenly,
It gets to
this can
adapt.
actually get
Yeah.
okay.
So my startup also had a very, very similar path. So when we launched, we launched in Venda in a community which was very high excitement in 2016. 2016, right? High excitement. People were so excited. Then the trough of sorrow hit, and it hit very hard. We ran out of all resources. I used up all my resources to build up the store in Venda, which was the first site that we had in the company. I used up every single penny we had in the company, and the store failed. That particular store completely failed.
Why do you think that is?
So it was the location. It was not the right time. We didn't market it as well as we could have. So it was all sorts of factors. Then Jan, Feb, I did the interview for Amaphiko, and then May I was then taken into the program. So then I started the academy at the peak of my trough of sorrow when we had absolutely nothing. So then at the academy, at the 10 days I spent really rethinking the whole company, actually. So I rethought a location, which was one of the biggest factors. Then we went into container stores instead of physical locations. Containers' advantages, you put an investment into, because we had put an investment in a physical building.
Space, yeah.
Yeah, so we painted it, we branded it, and it was very specific for that location. When it fails, you can't take that away. You can't take your paint away. You can't take the pipes away. You can't take any of those things away. You can't take the borehole away. But with a container, you just lift up the container, move it to the next location. So we rethought that with both my mentor, Gavin Will, who's an amazing guy, and some of the guys. The Redbull had some of the guys from international, some of the more creative guys. There was this guy, actually, honestly, I forgot his name. He's from Canada. He's a great branding guy. So we sat down and we rethought some of these things. So then I restarted the company, in all honesty. Then in October, we launched the first new product.
So literally, went through the program and, rethought the
whole
thing,
company, yeah.
And then relaunched.
Yeah, in October, we relaunched. October 18th, we relaunched the new product. So it was a more streamlined product. Our physical filter itself. So we make filters. So we make filters from locally sourced macadamia nutshells, which you get from farmers in Limpopo, and then we pair that with a nanofiber and we 3D print the shell that surrounds it. So then
You explained that like you were explaining how to play with a toy. That's not what it sounds like. It sounds like a lot of different, it sounds very technical. Definitely needs a lot more scientific work. It needs a lot more thinking around what you're actually doing. And obviously how did you initially have to test that?
Sure.
I'm pretty sure you weren't just letting people drink the water just to see if they'd get sick.
Yeah,
obviously not.
Did you get sick? Okay, that product doesn't work then.
That wouldn't work.
No,
that would not work.
So one of the things, an advantage is that the water industry has been in existence for a long time. Obviously. So that assists in rapidly testing out thinking, because then you physically, there's standards that have been set for such a long time that you can't bypass those standards if you're going to get the filter onto the market. So that gives us an advantage that we can rapidly test that. So we started testing in 2015. And the product didn't change. The physical chemistry of the product, or the flux, or the physical chemistry itself of the product didn't change at all from 2012 when I started dreaming of the product till now. The product itself hasn't changed. It's the casing around it, the transportation of the product, the size of the product that has changed quite a bit. So in 2015, when we launched the first product, the basic chemistry was the same up until now. So then we changed the cover, we changed how the flow, how the water goes in. So initially, you used to go from one filter to the next filter to the next filter, as I'm sure some people have seen it on the YouTube video. Now, how that happens is that it happens only in one filter. So the process goes through the one filter, and then you just get the product at the end. But the basic chemistry hasn't changed. So then, in October, when we relaunched the new streamlined product, which gives us more water with less power, which is very, very important for rural areas. Because the area that we started working in Witbank has both water and energy challenges, big energy challenges, even though Eskom has the most amount of coal from there, which is so weird.
No worries.
which is really weird, and again, they've got a lot of industrial people that are contaminating the water. So to test it is we stick to basic chemistry. We've got a SANS 241, which is the South African national standard for drinking water that we comply with. We've got a third-party laboratory partner that tests all of our water.
How conscious are companies about the impact they have on safe drinking water? So just like something you mentioned about Witbank, just like there's a lot of industries around there. You know, I mean, I live in an area where there's a lot of sort of factories and stuff like that. So literally when you come into my area, you know you're there because there's a smell. Yeah. Literally just chemicals that are going into sort of the river that flows around there. Yeah. And you can smell, you know, something's wrong here. It literally smells weird. So how conscious are companies about the impact they have on the drinking quality of water, and like even maybe also, you know, how they're using energy and how much more they need to be conscious about how they're using energy?
I mean, it's incredible. I mean, you look at some of these big mining houses, especially in the east of Gauteng. If you look at Witbank, it's incredible the impact that these industrial players have had on our natural resources. A lot of companies are conscious of it. I mean, again, it's a question of if you're producing a couple billions a year for the economy, you're conscious of the impact that you have. You need to think, I mean, government needs to think hard about how do you regulate this person to ensure that they continue to produce these billions in the economy.
And still.
And so the balance there is very, very, very difficult. So the best thing they can do is to impose the sanctions in terms of the fines, like the company in Cape Town. That's one thing that they can do. But at the same time, they need to insist that these companies give to those communities the cleanest water as possible. Actually, interestingly enough, I had a mining company reach out to me that is opening a new mine in the Bronkhorstspruit area. So what they said to me is, initially upfront, they want to purify all the water for the community. They know the impact that they're going to have.
Before they even open.
Look,
right off the bat, we want to make sure that we fix this.
Yeah. So they said to me, I must write up an environmental impact report as to the impact that they're going to have in the water resources, the treatment system that we're going to use, and the impact that's going to have. Because they are upfront saying to the government and to the community of Bronkhorstspruit that we understand the impact of our product. We want to grow this area economically, so then we'll treat the water that will be going back to the community. So a lot more companies are starting to do that. And I think government needs to enable that in terms of tax rebates, in terms of because that's going to be a big part of the enterprise and supply development strategy that they have in the area as well. We're going to have more communal gardening in the area as well. So we've also got companies, say for example, Lanseria Airport also reached out to us because they've got a little bit of a worry about the impact that the fuel has in the community surrounding the airport as the airport is growing. So companies are becoming more and more aware, but more needs to be done. Government needs to enable the growth of the companies at the same time as enabling some companies such as
finding
us.
that balance between sustainability versus profitability.
Exactly. Yeah, because the impact is so overreaching. It reaches far. It's too far wide.
Yeah. So when you think about the journey that you have, what do you think have been like really big, moments where you felt things changing and really going towards more, hey, we are literally in the pits of what we're doing. We don't understand what we're doing, and then going to the level where you are now, where you're just like literally just trying to iterate and provide as much as you can.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, when we went through the second cycle of our startup, after we launched, we were very fortunate that we got the business expertise that we got into the business. We my mentor has been in the business for a long time, and they've gone through all the cycles. So for me, beginning of last year, 2018, we had the biggest change in our business, and this is as a direct result of the people that we surrounded ourselves with. It was great that we had a mentor who's well vested in the business space, understands startups because he's run a startup for a long time. So that's when we started to see the real change in the business itself. We relaunched the product, we rethought our market positioning as well. One of the biggest challenges that we face is that in the water space is so horizontal. There's just so much that you can do within the space, all the way from bottled water, which is something that it's not really big focus, all the way to big bulk municipal water treatment. And we could have been anywhere in that spectrum. So we're then choosing exactly where we want to be, choosing exactly to say that our biggest focus is, number one, we focus on ensuring that communities that are affected by lack of access to safe drinking water have water. How do we do that? By partnering with companies and selling bottled water or office water that ensures that all the profit that we make feeds into this purpose that we exist for. And that's really a big change of what happened. So now we've got companies that buy water from us because they know that that sale that they've made at Kusini, that bottle that they're drinking in their office or in their store or wherever that they're drinking, has a direct impact in the community that company existed. And that's huge. And so now what we've done now is actually done an IoT platform that proves to those same companies that these are the sites that we're actually operating in. They can see live. Now you can see live all the data to show that these are the sites that Kusini Water has given water to. These are the sites that Kusini Water operates in terms of the rural sites. And this is how much water was flowing an hour ago. So much water was flowing 30 minutes ago. And we're able to prove that at the moment, which is a huge thing because then that gives the trust back to the donors, the clients that are consuming our product.
Yeah. I mean, your company is for profit, but you are also very focused on impact.
Yeah.
So do you identify as a social entrepreneur?
I'd say so. Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say that.
So what does that mean to you?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, it's definitely every single thing that we do, and I think it goes back to our strategy, our business strategy, which is purpose in every drop. So every single drop that goes out of our factory, goes out of our store, or goes out of anywhere that is connected to Kusini Water has purpose and meaning in a community that's affected by lack of access to safe drinking water on a systemic level. So what that means to me is that we maximize profit, just like any traditional company, maximize profit in order to enable maximize social impact in the communities that we operate in, as well as environmental impact as well. So we work hard to sell as much water as possible to ensure that we work hard to give as much water to communities as possible. So
literally the profitability actually feeding into the impact.
Exactly. So it's they call it the Robin Hood model.
The Robin Hood model.
Yeah, taking from the rich while taking. I don't want to say stealing from the rich.
So not taking, not stealing either.
Selling to the rich.
Selling to the rich.
In order to enable the communities that we wanna serve in. We like that model.
And how's it been going? Like, have you seen sort of the impact that you've had really come through from the other end, right?
Yeah.
So from the end user, the end consumer, where communities are being enabled to have this big thing, right?
Yeah.
It's something. It's really interesting. We're recording this on Human Rights Day, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Just that small thing that we take so for granted in urban areas. I've always grown up in an urban area.
Yeah.
Whether it was Soweto or the East Rand, it's always been urban areas. So water is not something you think about until it switches off, which still happens.
Yeah.
But for a community where they used to, for example, travel 2 kilometers, 5 kilometers to go get the water first, versus us, we just like
open your tap at home.
It's just there.
Yeah.
Like, what's the impact that you've seen on that end, where people are going, you've changed our life, the way we live things, the way we look at things also?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. If you go to one site that I would say our flagship site, which is in Heidelberg, one of the biggest challenges that this community faces is both energy and water, and they are so remote that as much as they're surrounded with the Val River and the Val Dam, they have no water. So we, in the Heidelberg community, we have seen such a huge systemic change because this place is so remote that not even water trucks go there. So they have to rely on farmers for water. So we have put in a solar-powered water purification system in that community. That helps us to, ensure that when there's no power, which is a huge occurrence, which is a regular occurrence, water continues to flow in this community and the safest drinking water. We've seen that on a confidence level that has impacted the community. Because it was not easy for them to drink water. So we've seen that change in people's behavior now, confidence in drinking the water and so forth. We are working in another tough area in Hammanskraal, which has been in the news for, again, it's a human rights issue. Hammanskraal is a proper human rights issue because there's a community that most times when they open the tap water, they physically can see the water that is dirty. So we're working in a school to ensure that where kids, the most vulnerable group, spend 8 hours of their day, they're drinking water that is safe to drink. So that's a huge area of pride for ourselves as well. And we've partnered with great organizations to do that. We've partnered with amazing organizations. We've got another school in Limpopo where we've partnered with the Opikopi, festival. Festival goers don't care much. They just want to drink water, right? But what they didn't realize last year is that as they were hydrating themselves to cure themselves from the hangover, all those liters that they were drinking have ensured that someone every day now gets access to safe drinking water on a regular basis.
I don't think the people at Opikopi should, is that something they were conscious of?
No.
I feel like I'd be so conscious and be like, I want more water. If you told me if I drink 3 liters of water, someone else gets 3 liters of water, I'd drink all the water you want me to.
Yeah, and I mean, last year we had a big sort of stand and we were showcasing that, and I think the partnership will allow us to grow that even more, to reach out to more people, because we're going to talk about it a lot more for this year's festival. So we're going to do like Rocking the Days. It's one of the big events as well, where that same model exists. And the biggest reason why that needs to happen is because where we spend the most amount of money unconsciously, that's where we can draw the most amount of impact on a conscious level to communities that are right there. Because I mean, people have to buy water in a festival. Yeah. And there's this community that every day can't have access.
So, I mean, you being a startup dude, I'm going to ask you a very startup question.
Sure.
Right? What's your moonshot?
Ooh.
Very startup-y.
Oh, that's very startup-y. So what our moonshot is, so if you look at the African continent, we want, when you're drinking water, we want that water to be in one way or another associated with kusini. So be it when you wake up in the morning and open your tap, or when you go into your grocery store to buy water, or when you're in your favorite festival. What's that festival in Uganda, in Tanzania? So we want to be associated with every single drop of water that you're drinking, and all of that water being done in a system that's fully automated, operating autonomously, using renewable energy. And we want that to happen throughout the African continent. So, and every single village to be functioning on its own water source, getting its own renewable energy water source, and all of that to be connected to Kusini water.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, man.
Cool.